Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes did not wait until Abu Dhabi.
I can't believe it's real.
I mean, let's be real. We knew this was coming. We knew that there was going to be a new Lewis Hamilton contract, but I needed them to put me out of my misery, and they did it at Ferrari's home race of all places.
After it didn't happen at Silverstone, that's why I was just like, they're gonna hold out as long as possible. Monza probably would have been the last race I would have guessed it being announced.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I also think, in light of the fact that all the rumors was that Ferrari really wanted to try to woo him over to, like, announce it at Monza of all places, like...
Incredible. It really was. And Lewis just receiving, like, unbelievable admiration all weekend from fans and such, and as he does everywhere. But it just felt extra special this weekend. Oh my goodness. It did feel like a, haha, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do it at Monza.
Yeah, the cha-ching noise just feels fitting, but, like, I don't think this contract was ever about the money in any way. I would like to point out that it was announced that Lance is still going to be at Aston Martin next year, and this was a joint press release that both Mercedes drivers were going to stay until 2025, and no one cared about George's announcement. Well, actually, it takes a lot for me to feel bad for George Russell, and I felt genuinely bad for him this weekend.
It was like the joint statement, and then suddenly my entire timeline was just Lewis! Like, it was a sea of purple, and just the amount of, like, news articles that were then just only about Lewis, and then, like, in the caption, it'll be like, and teammate George Russell, boo, and then it's just like the history of Lewis's whole life. So, some juicy gossip on this and some theorizing that I know I've told you, but I'm going to tell everyone listening to Gridwalk right now. Toto has come out and given quotes now that this Lewis contract has been signed since May. So, before I give you my theories and thoughts, how dare you? I have been stressed out of my mind wondering if this was going to be a 1 year or 2 year contract and what was going on and what the details were. You made me wait until September when it's been done since May. Boo! Mean is mean. It's bullying. I feel personally victimized by Toto Wolff.
Right.
And Lewis Hamilton.
Decision. Right. The entire time. And they're like, I don't know. We still have some stuff to figure out. And it's been done. But my theory is that, so of course, none of this is reported. None of this is based on anything. I'm throwing out some theories at the wall here. There's my disclaimer to all. Recklessly speculating here. When George signed on with Mercedes, I'm sure he did so thinking Lewis was going to retire maybe by the end of next season. I am sure George Russell is not so happy that the earliest Lewis Hamilton is going to retire now is at the end of 2025, and this was supposed to be his team. George Russell already had a contract done for next year. So I think that in order to quell any kind of bad feelings, Mercedes, in good faith, renegotiated George Russell's contract with him, so it went the length of Lewis's, and probably gave him a raise, and was just like, shh. And I think the reason we didn't get this announcement is because from a PR and an internal emotional state, it was better for them to announce all of it at once. So I think the length of time was probably negotiating with George's team to get that all sewn up. Because now, instead, if they only announced Lewis's, the questions George would just be getting would just be like, oh, so I guess it's still Lewis's team. He's signed on for longer than you. What does that mean for you? Versus now, it's like, oh, the team put out a joint statement. George is definitely still getting questions that are like, what does this mean for you? But at least he can now say, well, the team invested in me too and extended my contract as well.
We are Mercedes.
Yeah, there's some face saving there, which
I think all of these F1 drivers care about. I think there's a lot of ego involved with being a race car driver. So that's my theory. I think the holdup here has never been Lewis's contract. I think the holdup here has been George's. What are your thoughts on my wild, reckless speculation?
Well, it may be the Swiftie in me, but I absolutely love this theory. I think it makes so much sense. It totally sounds like they were like lining it up to probably announce at Silverstone, because it would have been like a special marketing like miracle to have like both your British drivers in the British home race. But I can also see Mr. Poo sassy British sass, which has just become increasingly more present on the radio, is more the joke. If you haven't seen our superlatives online, follow us at Gridwalk Show on all social media platforms. But George's British sass has been kind of upped a little, so I could definitely see him like wanting to kind of prolong this or poking a little bit more to get a little bit, more money out or see what he can get. And like, good for him. That's the way these things go. And I mean, we've seen what F1 contracts like really can mean. Very little or not, or a lot at all. And so when you are in it, get what you can out of it. Right. So I think that I fully buy into the theory. That lines up incredibly. I can see that. I can also see it being like pushed through summer break and now we'll come back, and yeah.
I also think it's always important to remember that these drivers have little to no leverage. I would say there are maybe 3.5 drivers right now that have any leverage at all in their situations, and it's Max, Lewis, because who he is. I think Fernando, with the people he hasn't pissed off, which is a small list of people, but I think Fernando gets a decent amount of leverage because he's good. And then I think that Charles has thrown out all of his leverage by just constantly talking about how much he loves Ferrari, so like whatever. I think Lando Norris has a little bit of leverage. He's the half. But besides that, like there are 3, maybe 4, depending on the year, good seats in F1. Like I would say that the 2 Mercedes seats, the Max's seat, and the lead Ferrari seat sometimes are like the good seats in F1. George has one of those. So I'm sure, like, as salty as I would predict he is, that he is not leading that team, and that, shocker, the greatest driver of all time is still pretty good at this, and he seems a little upset about not being the leader on that team right now. He has no leverage. So I think it's great and good for him that he got this like renegotiated and extended already.
And shout out to the Mercedes marketing PR team that was probably super hype when they were like, here's all this information, make your statement. Like, joint together, thank goodness. They probably had to have been working on all the other ones, and this was the easiest one, and they were like, great, it's good, go.
Before we wrap this up, I want to know what your favorite piece of Lewis-related social media content they put out about the contract, because my favorite this weekend was when they had him record the video that was like, I'm Lewis Hamilton, and I'm still a Mercedes F1 driver. And I squealed. I was so excited. What was your favorite that they
There
did?
was just, I mean, like, the just unbelievable, like, presence of Lewis. I felt like there was, like, so much Lewis love across the internet. And it's not even necessarily, like, tied to his, like, announcement. But the video of Mercedes surprising the one fan they brought into, like, the hospitality suite that I shared with you, and of just, like, and it was so wholesome and cute, and she's like, oh my god, Lewis, and I would have just been like, you are Lewis Hamilton, like, I would have not have been as poised. It was just so wholesome and great. So I felt like there was just, like, a lot of extra love for Lewis and George on the Mercedes, like, accounts in general, so it was just a lot more fun and positive to see.
And I appreciated it all coming at the Italian GP as well, which isn't a race that has historically been nice or kind to Lewis from a fan perspective. So to see the influx of Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton fans and to see him get love like that, actually, I feel like all season, like the love and appreciation he's received at almost every track has really been incredible. And that just like makes my heart so much happier.
As he should.
Yeah, he is the sport.
He is the sport. Thank you for listening to this highlight from episode 33 of Gridwalk. Don't forget to like and subscribe for a ton more F1 videos. And you watched this whole video, so why not go watch the rest of the episode? It's right here. You can click right here. Ready? Go with me. Click, click, click. Click, click, click.